So today we are going to discuss about the first principle thinking. So I am going to read out from my newsletter because I have poured all the information that I have gathered here. So it will be easy for me. Okay. So let's begin. So what is first principle thinking? So it is one of the most useful mental models for solving complex problems and to bring out the creativity of what can be possible. Okay, so it is one of the best mental model. It is a mental model. Okay, and this mental model is used by many philosophers and also some well-known figures like Elon Musk and Charlie Munger as well. Okay, so for this principle, one should break down the complex problems into its foundational elements or its foundational truths and start building up from there. It's like a reverse engineering. Okay, there are two types of reasoning people uses. So here reasoning means problem solving. Okay, so there are two types of reasoning people uses. So reasoning by first principle, that is number one, and second is reasoning by analogy. Okay, so we have learned the basic about what is first principle. So the second one is reasoning by analogy. So what does that mean? So it means you have to do your reasoning or problem solving based on past experience or what someone has told you. So reasoning by first principles involves breaking down a problem to its fundamental truths and building up from there. Reasoning by analogy relies on comparing the current problem to something similar that has been solved before. If some new problem has occurred, then if you use the analogical thinking, then you will compare the problem with the similar kind of problem that you have solved in the past and use that solution here. Okay, to solve this problem. So that is analogical thinking. So the fun fact is that most of us solve our problems using this analogical thinking. Okay, and we tend to use this thinking because it saves a lot of time, because for using the first principle you have to break down the complex problem into its fundamental part, then you have to connect the dots and build from there. So it takes time. So it is like a shortcut that our mind takes. He thoughts of the similar problem that you have solved before and puts out the solution to solve the new one. Okay, so you can understand these two types of reasoning by the example of a chef and a cook. We all know the difference between a chef and a cook, right? A chef is the master of his skills and has the knowledge of all the flavors, different ingredients, etc. And has the ability to invent new dishes, right? He can invent any dish by only few ingredients. So that is a chef. But that is not similar with a cook, because a cook knows how to cook, but by following the recipes that already existed, he don't innovate or invent or come up with something new, because he lacks the foundational knowledge. He just knows the method, that's it. He don't know the deeper knowledge of the food he's cooking. He just follows the recipes that already existed. So by chance, if the cook loses his recipes, the dish will be ruined. But that's not the case with the chef, because he understands the fundamentals of cooking, the ingredients and the flavors. So always keep your foundation very strong. That's the key. So let's understand how the first principle works. So when Elon Musk found out that buying rockets is very expensive, he then break down this complex problem into its foundational elements or pieces. So the problem was the cost of the rocket. So he asked himself, can he build the rocket himself? Then he asked himself once again, so what are the basic elements or the basic substances by which the rocket is made up of? Okay, so he found out that the cost of the substances that are used to make a rocket are very much cheaper. Okay, so the only problem was that he has to build the rocket himself, and we all know that he is a great self-learner. So he learned how to build rockets and he just built the rocket, and from there was the starting point of SpaceX we all know today. So yeah, he uses this first principle very well for this. There are several lines I want to share with you guys from the blog I just came across while I was gathering the information about this mental model. So the real power of first principle thinking is moving away from the incremental improvement and into possibility. Letting others think for us means that we are using their analogies, their conventions and their possibilities. It means we are inherited a world that conforms to what they think. This is incremental thinking. It's Only when we step back, ask ourselves what's possible, and cut through the flawed analogies that we see what is possible. Analogies are beneficial. They make complex problems easier to communicate and increase understanding. Using them, however, is not without a cost. They limit our beliefs about what's possible and allow people to argue without ever exposing our faulty thinking. Analogies move us to see the problem in the same way that someone else sees the problem. So reasoning by first principle is useful when you are, number 1, doing something for the first time. Number 2, dealing with complexity. Number 3, trying to understand a situation that you are having problems with. In all these areas, your thinking gets better when you stop making assumptions and you stop letting others frame the problem for you. Analogies can't replace understanding. While it's easier on your brain to reason by analogy, you are more likely to come up with better answers when you reason by first principle. This is what makes it one of the best sources of creative thinking. Thinking in first principle allows you to adapt to a changing environment, deal with reality, and seize opportunities that others can't see. So there you have it, guys. That's the power of the first principle mental model, and I recommend you just do it. Just try it yourself. Yes, so in the next video, I am going to share the 2 methods for establishing first principle thinking. So till then,